People call you intimidating. Not rude, not arrogant, not aggressive. Just intimidating. And the strange part? You weren't even trying. If you're an introvert, chances are you've heard it before. You seem cold. You're hard to read. You look intense. And every time, you probably had the same reaction. Wait, what? Because in your mind, you were just sitting there, existing, thinking, being yourself. But here's what most people never realize. There's actual psychology behind this. Have you ever walked into a room and noticed someone who wasn't demanding attention, wasn't talking loudly, wasn't trying to impress anyone, and yet somehow everyone seemed more aware of their presence? That person probably had no idea they were affecting the room at all. And if this sounds familiar, stay with me. Because introverts don't intimidate people on purpose. They just do it naturally. Here are 7 signs you might be one of them. Sign number 1. Your silence makes other people uncomfortable. Most people hate silence. Not because they always have something important to say, but because silence feels awkward. To many people, quiet feels like a problem that needs to be fixed immediately. So they rush to fill it. They talk more. They overshare. They say things they didn't even plan to say. But you're different. Silence doesn't scare you. You can sit quietly and actually think. To you, silence isn't empty. It's useful. But to the person sitting across from you, your silence feels like mystery. Worse, it feels like judgment. They start wondering, what are they thinking? Do they dislike me? Did I say something wrong? Meanwhile, you're probably just deciding what to order. But because you're comfortable with silence, people often mistake your calm presence for intensity. Sign number 2. You don't participate in drama. Most social environments run on emotional reactions. People show frustration loudly. They vent immediately. They react before they think. Not because they're wrong, but because emotional expression helps people understand where they stand. You don't operate that way. You think before reacting. You process before responding. And that creates a problem. Because people can predict emotional people, but they struggle with calm people. Someone who can't be pressured, can't be manipulated. Someone who doesn't overreact, can't be controlled. And whether people realize it or not, that makes them nervous. Because when someone can't pull an emotional response from you, they suddenly don't know how much influence they actually have. Sign number 3. You ask real questions. Most conversations aren't designed for depth. They're designed for comfort. How are you? Good. Busy week? Yeah. That's the script. Small talk acts like social glue. But introverts often skip the script, not because they're rude, because they genuinely want something real. So instead of asking surface questions, you ask something deeper, something unexpected. And suddenly, the conversation changes. People pause. Their body language shifts. Their answers become more careful. Because without realizing it, you've moved past performance and entered reality. To you, it was curiosity. To them, it felt like exposure. Like somehow you saw more than you were supposed to. And people often describe that feeling with one word: intense. Sign number 4. You stay calm during emotional situations. This one gets misunderstood all the time. Because the truth is you probably feel things deeply. Maybe even more deeply than most people. But you've learned something important. Strong emotions don't always need strong reactions. So when conflict appears, you stay steady. You stay logical. You stay controlled. But here's the problem. Many people interpret emotional matching as caring. If they're upset, they expect visible concern. If they're angry, they expect energy. So when you remain calm, they assume you don't care. Your composure gets mistaken for indifference. Your self-control gets mistaken for coldness. And suddenly, The issue isn't even the original problem anymore. Now they're reacting to your reaction. You're not emotionless. You're just refusing to let emotion control you. And people often misunderstand that difference. Sign number 5. You notice everything. Before speaking, you've already observed things most people miss. Tiny pauses, changes in tone, body language shifts. The difference between what someone says and what they actually mean. You're taking in the entire picture. Not because you're trying to analyze people. Your brain simply works that way. But humans naturally become uncomfortable when they feel deeply observed, even if you aren't judging them, even if you're simply paying attention. People can sense focus, and often they assume focus equals evaluation. So they start feeling watched. And once that happens, discomfort appears. Not because you said anything, because they feel seen. And sometimes, being seen is scarier than being ignored. Sign number 6. You don't give instant access to people. Introverts usually protect their energy, not because they think they're better than everyone else, because connection costs energy. Real connection matters. So instead of opening up immediately, you observe. You take your time. You decide who earns your trust. And people notice this faster than you think. Some respect it. Others don't. Some people quietly assume. They think they're too good for me. But that's rarely true. What they call arrogance is often discernment. You're not rejecting people. You're simply being selective with your time, energy, and attention. And people who expect instant access can become uncomfortable when they realize they haven't automatically earned it. And finally, sign number 7. You don't need approval. This one goes deeper than all the others. Most social interactions operate on invisible exchanges. Validation for validation. Approval for approval. People constantly seek reassurance from each other. But you? You don't depend on it. You can sit alone, think alone, exist alone, and genuinely feel okay. Not pretending, not acting independent, actually content. And for some people, that's deeply unsettling. Because people who rely heavily on external validation often don't understand people who don't. The usual tools stop working. Social pressure doesn't work. Disapproval doesn't work. Expectation doesn't work. And without realizing it, your independence forces people to confront something uncomfortable. Their own insecurities, not yours. The truth is, people often find intimidating individuals aren't dangerous people. They're simply people who expose uncertainty in others. And maybe that's been happening to you this whole time. Here's what nobody tells you. Being called intimidating isn't always an insult. Sometimes it's just what happens when people meet someone they can't easily predict, control, or define. You're not cold. You're not broken. You're not difficult. You simply don't perform for acceptance. And in a world where most people constantly do, that makes you rare. So maybe people weren't reacting to a flaw. Maybe they were reacting to strength they didn't understand. And the right people eventually see the difference. And they stay. So tell me, which sign felt most familiar?